Hi, everyone, and welcome to another AEC+tech Talk. These talks are organized by AEC+tech, a platform that keeps you updated with the latest and greatest technologies for the building industry. Today, I'm so excited to have three incredible guests who are all experts in the technology and AI and AEC space. All three of them are extremely busy professionals, and I truly appreciate it and feel so lucky to have all three of them with us today. So we will hear their stories and learn about their work and hear their insights about the future of AI and AEC. And please feel free to ask your questions, post them in the chat box, and we will do our best to address all of them at the end. Our talks are recorded and saved on our YouTube channel, and will be also posted on our LinkedIn channel as well. So I'm going to briefly introduce all three of them, all three of our speakers, and let them talk more about their work. So our first wonderful guest is Scott Lowe. Scott is the CRO at the Beck Group, oversees initiatives that combine design and construction expertise with advanced technologies. Thank you so much, Scott, for being with us today, and we look forward to hearing more about your work.
Yeah, thank you, Nick Noss. Thank you for having me on this platform to share a little bit about our company and what we do in the AI space. The Beck Group's been around for a little over 100 years. We started out as a construction company. We are now one of the largest integrated companies integrating architecture and construction in the nation, in the U.S. And we started an initiative back in 1996 where we started our own cost analytics platform into really what we've now call our pre-construction platform database and initiative that we have in-house. And so we started that back in 96. It's really turned into sort of an industry standard. It's called Destiny Estimator. Now most all GCs across the country use it. And we have continued to advance that software internally, and happy to share a little bit about that software and how we use it today. So I'll be focusing more on the pre-construction side of what we do. So as I had mentioned, we really kind of laid the groundwork for predictive estimating in the construction space. And our architects have a lot to do with this too. So Beck as a firm, we do about $1.5 billion in volume a year. We have about 200 architects, and we have about 1,400 folks across the country as a company. And the remainder of that is mostly construction and real estate executives from all different backgrounds, finance, real estate development, et cetera, and so forth. So really, like I said, we started this initiative, this innovation in AI and machine learning. We really didn't know what it was at the time. We didn't know it was going to turn into this AI platform. But we started creating a historical cost platform and database from the history of the company. We call that the initiative, and the way we use it, we use it as a target value dashboard, which means basically we're just designing to the client's budget. And then we can track all kinds of things through our analytics now. Our AI platform tracks the manpower in real time on projects through a couple of different softwares that we use, feeds it back to our historical cost platform and an AI database. And then we also keep a large database of project analytics where size, typologies, type of construction, curtain wall system. I mean, you name it. We've got it cataloged, and we really go back almost the full 112 years of existence, both internally, but now we've also captured external databases too. So it's not just Beck projects we're measuring, we're also measuring other projects done by other people, designed by other architects, designed and built by other general contractors. So this is really the four pillars, if you will, of our Beck analytics. We use a program called CMIC, and this really tracks the manpower and logistics piece of what we do. We also, as you can imagine, years of PDF files and how to get that information actually into our analytics database. And then just a ton of Excel files, scheduling files, and these all come from the project managers and project executives running the companies, all the way down to the field engineers, frankly. And then we have a very large group of pre-construction. We have a pre-construction department and a large group of estimators on staff across the entire company that continue to feed this system. And then what we do is we essentially, off of these past projects, we can break down our cost, our estimates, our subs, supplier bid lists, our job budgets, the specific market information, which I'll get into here in a little while. And then we can break it down into just about any metric that you can imagine. Cost per square foot, cost per car on a garage or per space, cost per key for hospitality or hotel. We can essentially assign the output we want and the cost database and the AI database will actually spit that information back out at us in the form that we want it. And so what this is really good for is the benchmarking for what we do. And so we can probably faster than just about anyone, we can tune a project in terms of setting expectations out the gate. So there's not a whole lot of time wasted. We can listen to so let's talk about practical application for a second. What we can do is we can sit down with a customer, understand the program and the real estate problem very quickly, and then we can run our analytics based on just a very few parameters of the project and constraints of the project. And we can tell very quickly with the client whether we're in the ballpark of where we need to be from a budget and schedule standpoint and a system standpoint, or we can move off of that and adjust very, very early on within the first couple of weeks of an engagement, which is a huge advantage, obviously, in our business. And so when we talk about intelligence, really what part of this is AI? It's really the part you're feeding the machine data, and we're actually opening up the funnel completely wide open as it's coming in, the information coming in. We're taking that information, we're distilling it and filtering it and understanding it, and then we're plugging that into the database and making that database more robust. So what happens is the actual artificial intelligence portion of the process is where we ask the platform what we want and what we're looking for, and that platform goes and finds it in the context and in the format that we need. It's not unlike a very sophisticated chat GPT for construction and architecture. And so these are just some examples of output, right? So this does have some human intervention in terms of the actual format, but what's really important here in terms of the artificial intelligence is the information that we gather. So yes, while we do intervene a bit on the graphics and presentation to make the information more clear, the information every bit of information on this document comes from that platform that I was referring to. So what this does is, so if we have this is an office building example for a Class A office building on a cost per square foot basis. We can say, hey, we want, in this case, we want 9 examples of projects similar. We plug in curtain wall, you know, the area that it's in, et cetera, and so forth. And then the software will adjust to today's dollars. It will adjust to the region. It will be region specific to the dollars, which is a huge thing. And then it will also take into account other things like current escalation and other factors. And then it will spit out a cost per, like in this particular example, we wanted a cost per square foot. It spits it out on a cost per square foot and gives us a bracketing of costs, right? So you have a high and low and then a mean. And so what we can then look at in terms of quality of these different examples, no matter when they were built, and we can say, okay, this is kind of where we're targeting for this particular assignment or this particular project. And so again, this is another example of output that we get from our platform. And this is more just cost clarity, right? We want to make sure that what we're hearing the client say, that we're interpreting that level of quality, the project, the scope, et cetera, the program, that we're interpreting that correctly, and that we're benchmarking it with, so we go to another level of this sort of level of quality, not just scope, but quality. Are we speaking the same language with our customer? And then we can output. This is actually really close. We've embellished some of the graphics on here, but this is actually really close to what's output out of one of the softwares from that analytics platform. And we can plot any number of data points. So in these particular examples, number of seats to the total square foot in maybe an auditorium, or cost per seat versus quantity of seats. So this is an arena or auditorium example that we're looking at, and we can kind of tell, like, are we in sort of the grouping or the mean that we need to be in, or are we way off base on this particular assignment right out the gate? And that sort of gives us some historical, at least level of measurement before we engage. And then this is incredibly helpful. We can, our database also looks at the macro picture. So a construction group is really a logistics group largely, right? So the economic trends, we've all heard of escalation, inflation, these kinds of factors that really make a huge difference on the cost of a project. So we've tracked we can go back literally 100 years in our database and see where the inflationary curves have been. And then the analytics based on the macro picture and where it pulls from current events, current inflationary factors, these kinds of things. It's actually a predictive tool as well. So we can actually tell our customers, hey, you know, we're probably looking at a little bit of an uptick, you know, in costs based on supply chain or based on inflationary costs that are out of our control, et cetera, and so forth. And so we can inform our customer to the best of our ability, and through these analytics to make wise decisions on timing of their project. And then this is really great. This gives us a target based on, so a building's made up of different systems, right? So we can break those systems down based on that early estimate into categories, right? from anything from foundations to utilities, substructure, superstructure, exterior wall assemblies. And then what this does, we call this a bar and whisker diagram. And the orange circle is really what's the indicator here. The orange circle is based on where the mean has been on past projects of similar quality and scope. And so what this tells us is if this tells us where to shoot when we're looking at cost savings or where there's opportunity for cost savings in the project, or that there's opportunities to further enhance quality on the project. So maybe we're not spending enough, and we maybe can, get a better elevator system or a better exterior curtain wall system, these kinds of things. And so this is very, very helpful. So we're not chasing dollars or quality across the entire projects. We're actually chasing it in very strategic, very targeted areas of the project. And this is just an example of how we break down the diagram. So before, we would have to, our estimating department would actually have to reconstruct the BIM model based on either our in-house architecture group or the third-party architecture group, because Beck does about 50-50 of our work. About 50% is integrated, where Beck is the architect and the contractor, and then the other 50% is third-party. So we'll either design for other and get built by other general contractors, or we'll actually build other architects' work. And so as long as now we've developed our software further internally to where now we can import a BIM model and we don't have to reconstruct that BIM model. That BIM model we can take and assign value and break apart into the different components and assign values to that, and it'll actually do some of that work for us. And then this is where we get into actually systems analysis. So we can very quickly, based on this program, start to break down different. In this particular instance, we were studying an exterior curtain wall system. What's the cost impact and quality impact based on the different system that we were choosing and the different articulation of that system. And so you can see across the four options, there's a significant delta when it comes to the different direct cost of that particular system. And that was studied, that literally took like a day and a half to do. It was not a big deal. And so, and we can do that along any number of systems and see where the opportunities for savings are, or where the opportunities are from a time standpoint of savings, where the opportunities are to enhance quality or get a better design out of the project. It's incredibly efficient. And this is just a little bit more of the same when we start to study some of these different systems. This also has some human intervention into it, but the analytics behind it and the things that are driving some of these decisions are within the platform itself. And then this is just sort of a breakdown of the different categories. Some of it's reiterating what I had covered earlier, but cost escalation, anything from the macro picture down to sort of the very specific shipping and logistics to the, and we can, if we know where the opportunities lie in terms of inefficiency or waste, we can save that early, and we can plan around it, and we can get a better product out of it. And with the idea is that the client benefits from being able to spend money on the project where the money is realized, not in waste and inefficiency. And this is just more of that cost certainty and marketplace tracking. And so again, with our analytics, we not only track costs around quality, but we also track schedule. So we understand that if we're digging in a certain place for an underground garage, which could be, which is a pretty risky notion in terms of schedule, because you never really know what you're going to find on some sites, especially if they're quite large. This could actually give us some analytics around that area that maybe we didn't build, and we could sort of see if there are some outliers in terms of time constraints and these types of things for that particular project or engagement. And then again, it spits out these handy little dashboards that we have, and this has very little human intervention to it. These are predetermined dashboards that we can plug in and ask our database a number of different questions and the form of information that we want, and it can very quickly give us a lot of data with very little effort. And that's it.
Thank you so much. Thanks, Scott. Thanks for sharing all this great work. So we'll get back to you at the end with some questions. So next we have Sam. So Sam Zolfaqarian, PhD, is the president at Yatech and is a pioneer in AI applications for the AEC industry. So with that, I'll hand it over to you, Sam.
Hi, Niknazjan. Thanks for having me here, and it was great to see what you're doing, Scott, at the Beck Group. I really enjoyed learning more about your project. With that, I assume my screen is up, Niknazjan?
Yes. Yep.
Yeah. This is Sam Zolfaqarian. I'm the president at Yatech. My co-founder and I, we started this AI consulting company about 3 years ago. And what we are doing at Yatech, we are helping the architecture, engineering, and construction firms with their AI strategy, governance, and implementation. My background is structural engineering. I used to design and build high-rise residential buildings. And later I decided to learn more about technologies and see how it can help our industry. And the majority of my career path was a combination of technology and also construction challenges and solutions. And I'm bringing those into Yatech so that we can help others to leverage AI and other technologies that are out there. And with that, my co-founder, he wrote a book, Augmented. He published it back in early 2021. And right now, based on our work projects that we're running with our clients, I co-authored the book called Disruptor. It's under publication right now. And it's talking about how the future of work will look like in our industry. And it's targeting the CEO, principals, and executives of architecture, engineering, and construction firms, helping them with the guideline to prepare their companies for the future of AI and future of work. Back in 2021, we launched a course it's basically for the AEC industry. Is talking about the fundamental of AI and also some use cases. Since this course is launched before GPTs and everything, it doesn't cover GPTs, and we're planning to include those sections as well. But it gives you pretty much a good understanding about fundamental of AI and use cases that you can bring to your company. And last but not least, we have a community of disruptor seekers, those companies that are bringing AI, executing AI within their companies. I will share more details about it later. And the goal of this circle, this community, is learning from others, what they're doing, how they can benefit from AI, and what their challenges are, and how they're dealing with those challenges. If I want to talk what we do in a high level, we have like keynote training, we have advisory program in terms of how you can bring AI to your company, and also innovation program educating your companies about AI. And in the last 3 years, we trained over 8,000 AEC professionals globally, but the majority are in the US. that was a little bit intro about what we do at Yatech. Now I want to do some interactions with the audience. I checked with Nicknas. It looks like if you type in chat, I'll be able to see them in the platform. I'm curious to know if you started any AI initiative or you're working on it, or basically based on the research that you're doing, why do you think AI initiatives may fail? What is risking for those AI initiatives to be fail? And if you can come up with one or two examples, that would be great. I'll pause for like maybe 30 seconds. I want to make sure that we have time to go through the rest of the content. If you can type it in chat and share it with others, that would be great.
Sure, I'm going to type it right now. Yeah, I just posted it, so we can wait. Or you can continue, Sam, and I can let you know as soon as someone posts a comment here.
I wait for 10 more seconds and then I'll start.
Sure. Yep.
Okay. Feel free to type it in chat and share it with others. Based on McKinsey, Gartner's, and some other articles that we've been looking at, there are 4 major reasons that why AI projects fail. The first one is AI strategy. So as you know, AI is evolving super fast, especially in the last 3 years. What we've seen was like amazing, and it's like people are like, how I can keep keep going with the speed of AI. And without the strategy, it's really difficult because it will be just detecting noises versus signals that like where you're heading. Having a strategy would help you to know where your company is heading. The second reason is AI governance. So AI governance, what I meant here is in terms of the risk of AI. There were companies back when GPTs were released 3 years ago. Their employees they were excited. They were trying to see how GPTs work, and they were copy pasting some confidential data on those platforms without knowing how their data will be used. That's what kind of the risk that we can expose our company. Without any AI governance for our company, it would cause those AI initiatives that we are running fail. The third one, which is, I would say is the main reason, is people are afraid. What I'm hearing from many AEC professionals, and even from others, like I had a physical checkup with my doctor, and he was like, I don't know if AI system can like detect disease based on all the research that are happening right now. People are scared of AI replacing them, and AI takes over and they lose their job. And that's not the point. AI is not here to replace us, and it's here to augment us, to get rid of those repetitive tasks. So people being afraid of the technology can cause AI initiatives fail. They could poison the data that you use for training those AI systems. They may not even adopt those solutions that you're trying to bring to your company. And that's the other way that people being afraid of AI can result in a failure. And last but not least, no standard processes. And what it means is we need data to build our AI system. We need data to train our AI models. And without any standard processes, we don't know where data goes, how data even is generated, who generates what. And without being able to track those data, that's really difficult to have all the context or necessarily context for training those AI models. So when you're going to start your AI initiative, or you're already in the process of your journey, make sure that you have a strategy, make sure you have governance so that you can minimize the risk, and make sure that your people are comfortable with those AI and you have a process for tracking how data is generated, where it goes, how you can leverage that, and even which kind of data you can leverage. There are cases that you may not be able to leverage data for training because of confidentiality or security reasons. I want to go back to chat to see if there is poor quality data. Yes, Akash, I see Duhan is saying because of unrealistic. That's so true. Yes, sometimes we set the expectations, the bar high, and then we can achieve it fast, and we think that's the reason that the project doesn't proceed, or it won't have the ROI that we were expecting at the beginning. Regulations as well, it can cause, it can slow down the process. And in the next few slides, I want to talk a little bit about this book, Disruptor, that how you can prepare your company for the future of work. If you like, you can scan this barcode, join the waitlist. My publisher promised me the book will be available by mid-February next year, so I am excited about that. And with that, I want to share 7 tips. And since the time is limited, I may not be able to go through all 7 tips. I'm going to pick up a few of them and share with you in terms of how you can keep track of what's happening and how you can succeed in your AI journey. The first tip is stop being reactive. So what we've been hearing from some companies is like they're reaching out, they're asking for tools, they want to know what's the coolest tool out there. But AI is changing, like, and it's really difficult to keep track of those tools. Even though AI has been around since 1950s, the advancement in the last few years was exponential. Like back in 2022, when GPTs were released, then we got RAG. Now everyone is trying to customize those AI models, GPTs, based on what they have. And now we're getting into agentic AI. And agentic AI are capable of doing tasks and making decisions by themselves. We have some blog posts about these agentic AI. If you're interested, you can go to our website and check them out. But the point here is like it's changing every year, basically in the last few years, and we don't know what comes next. But what we know is there are many solutions out there. Everyone is trying to bring AI to their platform. And if we just want to look for solutions, the coolest one out there is going to result in tech fatigue. And it's going to be costly for us to keep tracking of everything that is happening in the market. And one example we make is like going to a doctor and asking for a pill without knowing what you're trying to cure. So it's good to know the problems. It's good to know the opportunities that you're looking for, and then try to look for those solutions. Like what Niknaz provided, AEC+tech is a great place to go and search for what you're looking for. But the first step is knowing what you want, and then go to AEC+tech and search for that. Is actually, I tried a few times, and it gives me a good direction to find the tool that I was looking for. So I totally recommend trying the platform if you haven't yet. And what we see here right now, based on the tools that are happening, everyone is trying to generate content, images, videos, get rid of repetitive tasks. And that's the pattern that is happening right now. As an executive, as the CEO, as the business owner or decision maker, what you need to do is thinking about the future, thinking about, rather than just accelerating, which is a great first step, what's next? How you can augment your company, your people. Scott brought a good point during his presentation. He talked about human AI intervention. So, and you need to consider how human and AI collaborate and interact, what your process may look like. What are the services that you can offer that they weren't possible before? Because now you have all these platforms, all those solutions. So you need to rethink, reimagine your people, process, and businesses with what's possible next. The second tip is don't separate your AI strategy and business. Your AI strategy should be accelerator of your business strategy. That's actually a quote I'm taking from Vince De Papi. He's the CEO of SSOE. He's an AE firm, top E&R firm. And how they're looking at AI is they're looking at AI as an accelerator for their business strategy, how they can obtain those business goals that they set with the power of AI. So don't think that these two are going against each other. Consider that AI strategy as your business strategy. I'm skipping the third tip because of the time that we have. Make sure your team are educated. I talked earlier about one of the failures is people are afraid, but with education, you can change their feelings. With education, you can convert their feelings of being afraid by AI to excitement, to exploration, curiosity. Because news, they get more revenue, they make more money with focusing on bad news, scary news. And usually we see, oh, AI is going to replace us, but that's not true. It's like understand the fundamental, understand how AI can augment your employees, your business, and you can convert that feeling to something good that your employees are excited about. I'm skipping two more tips, and don't do this alone. Earlier, I talked about the community that we build. Our goal is like, if you want to go fast, go alone. But we know that our industry is super connected. We are part of like an ecosystem that if we work together, we can make a big change. And if we want to go far, we should go together. And this is one example of the community that we build. Everyone comes together, they share what they do in terms of their AI strategy, their AI program, and they help each other, and they also have fun. We go to Napa or other vineyard so that they can get more connected, do networking, and enjoy this journey together. And some of the work that we've done in the past, we decided to create a case study with the help from some of our clients like SSOE, Waketree, McKinsey. And if you're curious to know more about their journey, you can scan this barcode or just go to our website and download them and check them out, see what they've done, what changes they made throughout their journey, and where they're heading. With that, I'm passing it to Niklas.
Thank you so much, Sam. Very inspiring. Thanks for sharing all this great knowledge. And sorry that we are limited with time. You had to skip all those great points, but we'll get back to you with some questions at the end. And last but not the least, we have Zenon from Canada, Zenon Radewych, principal at WZMH Architects. He leads the firm's innovation lab, Sparkbird, which develops cutting-edge solutions for prefab construction and smart technologies. I actually met Zenon last month in New York for our Tech Plus conference. I was really impressed by the amazing work you guys are doing, and I'm so excited to have you so everyone can hear about your work and solutions you've been developing and all that.
Can you guys see the screen?
Actually, hold on one second. I have to turn it on here. We don't have it here, Zenon. Do you mind turning it on and off one more time?
Okay, do you see now?
Oh, here. Yes.
Okay, great. So thank you, everybody. So again, my name is Zenon Radewych. I'm one of the principals of WZMH, founded in 1961. I'm also one of the founders of Sparkbird and also one of the founders of Giraffe, and I'll get into that in a second. But what I want to kind of state is this presentation is a bit different in terms of we are in the very called early stages of implementing AI into called our business. But I think what you're going to see here is how architects work, how architects have been always working in the past, but how we're working today is now leading us to having to find solutions for AI, or basically, let me rephrase it this way: is what we're realizing is that what we're developing these days, we're realizing there's a lot of good AI opportunities to help us solve these problems in a more faster and efficient way. So we are in the very early stages of AI, but we're looking at and developing some very interesting things that we believe will really take advantage of AI in the, call it, near future. So a bit about kind of our background. So we are an architectural practice based in Toronto. We do work internationally. Started in 1961. So for those of you that have been to Toronto, one of the largest buildings that we've done here, called one that's very prominent worldwide, is the CN Tower, for example. So we do a lot of very large scale projects. In 2017, we started our R&D lab within WZMH called Sparkbird. And back then in 2017, the focus was a lot about IoT, Internet of Things, prefab, modular construction, smart building technologies, a lot around sustainability. We developed this thing called the Intelligent Structural Panel that basically Microsoft saw, and they asked us to apply to their AI and IoT Insiders Lab, and we did. We were selected. We believe we are, to this date, the only architectural firm in the world that have been accepted into their program. And it's a really cool product that we developed it in 2017, and will now be installed in a building in Toronto under construction now. And the way that I like to describe the ISP panel is it's basically a building where the floors are like you're walking on an iPad. And then we started Giraffe, which is a separate company. So it's currently owned by the owners of WZMH and Sparkbird, but Giraffe is purely a software development company. So in Sparkbird, we develop physical things, but we also develop software solutions. We realized that we should actually transfer those software solutions into Giraffe. Many of those software solutions are in their very early stages. Some are in early commercialization, but we set up Giraffe to allow us to basically look at other investors, to basically attract other investors to basically help us build these products and take them a lot bigger than they are. So I'm not going to kind of go through this slide, but it kind of tells you a bit about our firm, the scale of the work that we do. But this is kind of important because what we realized, and I mean, not that we realized, but because we are in this business of basically designing buildings and overseeing the construction of these buildings, we live and breathe the pain points that designers, engineers, and builders deal with every single day. So, we've seen a lot of companies come from called Silicon Valley or other, call it places that have ideas for the AEC industry. And frankly, we believe that a lot of them simply do not make any sense. And we realize the people that are developing those ideas don't really come from the background that, say, we come from. And I think that's really important to note that, everything that we're developing, that we're building, are solutions that our clients need, that we know that we need ourselves. And that's really important, right? So this is kind of a bit of a snapshot of the lab. It's a physical lab where we actually build things and develop software solutions. A lot around prefab, again, as I mentioned earlier, a lot around IoT, low voltage, DC power. We believe, that's the future of buildings, smart buildings, and that kind of stuff. So this is that product I mentioned, the Intelligent Structural Panel. So this is a basically structural floor panel system. It's 2 inches thick. The actual structural floor panel was developed by somebody else. But our idea, our concept was to actually integrate an intelligent layer in this panel where you basically plug and play all the building services and components. So, when you look at buildings today, about 90% of what's actually called in the ceilings and floors is low voltage based, but there's a lot of heavy AC infrastructure. Our concept is push all that AC as far back as possible, build a building as much as DC as possible, and it becomes plug and play. And DC is also very, call it sustainable in terms of it's great to plug into green solutions like solar panels and stuff like that. So, we really believe in these smart floor panel systems where we could plug things in, plug in sensors and use those sensors to collect data. And then obviously that data is then used to make the building smarter through AI applications. So what I was trying to say a few minutes ago is that what we're seeing is these things that we're developing will be leading to, call it, the development of AI solutions, call it, to help us make our buildings smarter and better in terms of how we operate them, how we build them in the future, etc. This is basically another thing that we developed called Speed Stack. So it is a modular building solution, but this is something, an example of something that actually led to the development of a software tool that's now leading to the development of an AI tool. And the story behind this is that when we build these modular buildings called Lego blocks, we had this idea of, wouldn't it be interesting if we could measure the distance between the intersecting points of the Lego blocks as they're being installed by cranes? So provide the crane operator and people on the ground with accurate information in terms of the distance between the connection points. So we called it dot on. You can see these red dots. Now, we've developed a software solution. We cannot use red dots, and I'll show you in a minute what we use. But this is an example of going from the physical world to basically a software solution to now we're looking at the AI world. And I'll explain in a minute in terms of how we collect that data and how we use that data to install these building blocks faster. And this is an example of a building built out of basically that Lego block. And what we also learned in developing this Lego block is the weight of the concrete was actually heavy. And that actually led to the development of a green concrete solution that we've been testing now for 1 year. And this is actually, again, another idea. It's called Carbon Lock. And I can't really tell you what it is in terms of the concrete mix because that is top secret. We're getting a patent for that. But this concrete solution that we developed reduces the weight of the concrete by 20%, but maintains roughly the same strength as normal concrete. So it's reduced the weight. It also has a component that's actually green. So in terms of carbon capture. And then when we started testing in the lab, we realized that it's actually conductive. So now we have quote unquote smart concrete. So we could take readings from the concrete. So again, another example of our core business is about buildings, designing buildings. But as we develop innovation, we're starting to see how that innovation goes from the physical world to actually tying directly into the so-called software and AI world. This is just a snapshot of that actual concrete test that we're doing. But again, there's a component in here that actually makes it conductive. And being conductive, we could actually take readings. This is not so much a, call it AI thing, but it is something that we do in our lab, and that is developing these wall cladding systems that are basically, wood that really kind of drive the whole idea about zero carbon. In terms of Giraffe, I think, which is our software arm, again, separately owned from WZMH. The beauty about it is that we test a lot of the software solutions in Sparkbird first. So as we develop ideas, we test them in Sparkbird. We bring in our clients to see, our industry partners, like builders, will come and see our software solutions in the early days, and it will tell us if it makes sense or not. Then we actually transfer them into Giraffe and build them. But what we're trying to show you here is that the people behind the development of these ideas are coming from WZMH, which has a lot of years of experience of designing and building buildings. And so, again, these ideas aren't just made up overnight. They're ideas that are coming from pain points that we live and breathe every single day. And, we've been talking to a number of VC firms over the last 6 months, and they find that really, call it, exciting and interesting to hear. And refreshing, call it, that our ideas are things that people are dealing with every single day as challenges. And so that's kind of this idea about, we have a lot of experience. We test our ideas in our lab, and then we basically also have a lot of foresight in terms of, we know what's kind of coming down the pipeline in terms of industry problems, labor shortages, etc., quality control issues. So we're building our solutions around that. And again, kind of just talking about the whole issue of foresight, which is the future, that we know that the future, there's going to be a lot of issues in the AEC industry, and we're trying to find solutions to kind of help us mitigate those risks of those problems that we see. So far, Giraffe, we've developed actually 8 different, apps. You could go on the website, the Giraffe website, and see these apps. You could download information. You could see videos of how they work. Some of them in the very early days of commercialization. For example, Parrot is. Dot On is a really cool one. It's a construction navigation system that we're using in the field. Some of these we actually use in our office. Some of these are actually meant for the construction side today, which we eventually believe will come back to the actual design side. So even though we're architects and we look for solutions to help us design better, some of these are actually designed for the actual construction industry, okay? And I'll explain those in a minute. So dot on, this is one that's in testing mode right now in the industry. We're testing on several construction sites. And what this essentially does is it measures, as I mentioned earlier, with the speed stack, it measures the distance between any points on an object that are being moved by a crane, by a person, could be anybody moving something that's installing something from one point to another point. So it actually measures the exact distance between called the insertion points, and provides that to your phone. So there's no special camera. A camera from your phone or a web camera is sufficient, and these codes are simple paper codes that we plaster onto the actual objects that are basically being moved or fixed, but being moved to another place. So this is something we've been working on for about a year. Gotten a lot of amazing feedback from contractors, and one contractor came in and realized it's actually, to them, an inventory control tool, because when we showed them a mock-up in our office where we had a fake wall built, and on the floor we had a whole bunch of electrical boxes that were to be installed on that wall. And when you pointed your camera at the electrical boxes on the floor, it showed where they would actually be installed in the actual wall itself. And the contractor then kind of kicked one of the electrical boxes away from the camera view, but it still showed that electrical box in terms of the dots of where it was supposed to go. So they basically said, this is an amazing inventory control tool, because now we know we're missing an electrical box. So every time we bring in somebody to see this, somebody gives us another great idea. The amazing feedback that we've gotten to date right off the bat is it's an amazing inventory control tool. Now, how does this go to the AI world? So what we're now doing is we're collecting data in terms of how long it takes to actually install objects on sites. And we want to actually start to build our call it design models, our BIM models. We want to build them with these so-called dots for every single object in a building. And then we want to start simulating construction. So in our BIM models, we want to simulate construction on the data that we collect and understand, how we could improve that construction in terms of, for example, adding more cranes to a site, putting a crane in a different position, what it means in terms of adding more labor, less labor, how we position materials on site. So we actually construct the building in our models before it actually goes into the real world. But we're using information like these dots on every single object to understand how they connect on the construction site. So again, an example of a tool that first started off with, hey, how do we install these so-called Lego blocks in a more efficient way? How do we provide accurate information, measurements to the crane operators, to inventory control tools, to now going back into our design tools to actually having us simulate the construction of a building by having information on all these dots. That's kind of how it goes into the AI world. So you can see examples here of items that are moved in place and how it measures the exact distance between the place. And what this eventually will mean to us is we believe this is the beginning, not the beginning, because we know robots are already being used, but this will really help robotics in the construction field, because if we can measure the distance between point A and point B, we no longer will potentially need the crane operators. They could be sitting in a building, 2,000 miles away and overseeing a number of cranes that are moving objects by basically robots. We've done a whole bunch of simulations. If you come to our office, we do small little simulations for clients where we show, steel buildings being erected, wood buildings, landing diesel generators on platforms. We do a whole bunch of basically simulations in our office. We've done a lot of testing before, and then we've now gone into the field and we're doing field testing. My son is interesting. This is actually not something actually for our design or the construction side, but as a tool we developed in Giraffe, and it's basically an app that it's all about your carbon footprint, but turns it into an actual game. So you do different things every single day, improve things in terms of walking to work or going to work in an electric scooter or a bike, and it tracks this and compares it against if you were taking a car, and it shows you what your so-called nature's footprint, your carbon footprint will be, and the lower score that you have, the lower number you have, the more points you have. The more points you have, you then get rewards from sponsors, like say Starbucks will sponsor and give you a free card. We've developed this. It's in early testing mode, and some of our staff are playing with it right now. Parrot is an actual digital standards tool. So we do a lot of work for clients where we basically They give us their standards, 500 pages of PDF documents that we then use to design buildings. Very non-user friendly, very difficult to track changes. We developed a tool where it's super user friendly. It's no longer a book, but it's actually simple floor plans. So for example, imagine McDonald's. The home screen you see in Parrot will be a generic McDonald's branch, and then you learn everything about the McDonald's branch by basically navigating a floor plan. So you learn everything about, the kitchens, the tiles, the lights, everything that's used in that kitchen is set up in this very user-friendly interface. It's all about graphics, and it has libraries of all their materials and components. And the beauty about this is they could then make edits online, and everybody using this basically is notified that these changes are being made. We're looking at how we start to implement this into the AI world in terms of starting to calculate and determine how we could design our spaces better in terms of implementing more products that have lower carbon emissions, etc. I won't go through this, but Parrot is actually one of the products that is right now in early stages of commercialization, being used by 3 or 4 clients. But again, it's a super user-friendly interface. SCAN is actually one that is not so much about robots, but it is about how robots navigate on sites. And what we wanted to do in our lab is to be able to deploy robots on a construction site or an existing building without the robot ever having been there before. And that's a challenge if you talk to people in the robot industry. You can do that, but the robot will drive around and scan the space and go in a path that you may not want it to go in. Our task in our lab was to basically define a path in our BIM models, draw the path a robot would go, tell it what it's going to collect, upload that information to the robot's brain, dump the robot on site, and have it follow that path. And we've successfully done that. And we've been testing it now for about, I would say, 7 or 8 months to an accuracy of 4 inches, which is right now pretty good for a construction site. So we could easily drive through doors and that kind of stuff. We're actually now doing a collaboration with Autodesk on this. And the goal is, what we're doing is looking at construction sites and analyzing information on sites. For example, conduit that are installed in walls. If you look at conduits installed in building walls, it's a spaghetti maze of the direction the conduit goes. We're looking at things like that and how we could actually provide more efficient means of installing conduits and the shortest path, etc. But also doing deficiencies and things like that. But what this is really all about is controlling a robot from your desk without the robots ever having been on site and telling it what to do and following a path in a floor plan type drawing, which our staff are use every single day. This plan is a really cool little tool. It's the beginning of what we think is going to be the future of how we design and draw a lot of our buildings. This is a simple little tool we developed within about a week or two, where you type in 2 numbers, the size of a barrier-free bathroom in Canada and Ontario. We call them universal bathrooms, and it actually then generates 3 compliant bathroom layouts. And these layouts actually are very complicated in Ontario because they have these things called fold-down tables, adult change tables. A lot of rules and regulations around one small little room. And for our staff to sometimes design this room in a small space could take them 3 or 4 hours. This does it in literally 3 seconds. So what I'm trying to get at is the future of how we're going to start designing and drawing, in my opinion, is going to be a lot around spreadsheets. We'll be inputting information to a spreadsheet, and when you press return, the outcome will be the actual drawings themselves. This right here, Volpa, is actually an RFI, request for information. So we get a lot of questions from contractors. On certain jobs, we'll get 100 per day. This basically, we've been building a database that actually helps our staff answer the questions. So it provides 5 answers to the question and then provides what I call a golden nugget response. But the beauty about this is what we learned right away is, it's not super accurate right now. It's about 60 to 70% accurate. But the beauty about this is it provides amazing references with those answers. And we're finding our staff now, we're actually looking at what those references mean. So it might make them look at building codes, look at specifications. So this is where I see actually AI becoming a good educational tool, because it's giving our staff information they never knew about and helping them, then learn more and more about our industry. AIM, this is an amazing tool that we've developed in our office. It's a 3D massing tool where we can take very, very simple 2D plans, pick some articulation components for the actual building, and extrude it and have a rendering like this generated within hours. So not weeks, within hours at this level of detail. So, there's programs out there that do levels of detail like you see right here. This one actually does it at a very, very high level, very highly articulated, call it concept, and in terms of the massing itself. I won't go through this, but this is kind of showing you where we are in our pilot testing of our Giraffe products. They're all in testing mode right now. Some are in the early days of commercialization, and these are some of our partners that we're working with right now. We do have a few on the early days of the board in terms of development, and one of them is called Replanet, and this is really about a recycling tool to really look at how we recycle products in buildings and have them relocated to new buildings. So if somebody was renovating or building a new building, they could take products from a building that was going to be demolished, for example. And City Sense is all about sensors located at traffic lights throughout the city to provide called intelligent information to the general public, that whether they're driving or walking in a neighborhood. And that's kind of all I had for today.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Zenon. Great stuff. So many powerful, great solutions. So are they currently being used by other firms, other architecture firms outside your firm, or not yet?
No. So right now, all of the, call it, apps that from a design perspective, we are using currently in our office. Probably within about 6 to 8 months, some of them will be used by other firms. The Parrot app that I mentioned that's out for commercialization is now currently being used by other clients. And the dot on mode, and we're testing with several general contractors and subcontractors and crane operators.
Wonderful. Great. Thanks so much. So we went 2 minutes over time. So thanks to all three of you for graciously accepting to stay 5 more minutes. So for questions. So dear audience, please feel free to post your questions in the chat. And then I have a couple quick questions. So I'll start with Scott. So Scott, you showed us your very progressive workflow using AI. I'm curious, when did it all start? So when did you start implementing AI into your workflow? And if you are using this on all the projects coming to your office, or you are selective about it based on the project budget or other criteria?
Yeah, I appreciate that. We actually started developing our own software in 1996. It was called D-Profiler back then, and it has evolved over the years, and it's now called Destiny Estimator. And it's now commercially available, has been for a number of years. And most general contractors, most large general contractors use it. And so I like to tell people that we're the Beck created Windows for estimating, right? And so, yeah, we use it in our workflow. It's part of our process. We use it literally every day. There's such an efficiency advantage internally in terms of time that it doesn't make sense not to use it. And it gets us some very basic information about the project and the project's feasibility, that it saves so much time up front. And so you can imagine from the getting a project sort of procured from a business development and sales perspective, bringing it into the company and getting that project eventually built, that's a long continuum, right? So any pieces and parts that you can make more efficient and compress time is better for the client and better for us. And so we use it for business development strategy. We use it for all kinds of different things. But yeah, it's used, I guess, when I say business development strategy, we use it from sales all the way through.
Wonderful. Yeah, makes a lot of sense. Thanks for sharing. So Sam, in your case, you work with all these companies and firms. So I'm curious, especially small and medium-sized firms, they're very busy, meeting deadlines, pursuing new projects, usually don't have the budget for AI implementation. So how do you see this AI adoption rate? Is it going up? So how are they catching up, and how are they supposed to catch up?
So they are across the whole spectrum. Some of them, there are companies out there that think AI is just a noise and it's going away, and it's just a hype right now. And by the time that they find out what they need to do, probably is going to be a little bit late to catch up, because there are competitors that they are ahead of them. There are like some companies that they're trying to navigate their journey and see like how they can start and where to start, and that's the biggest challenge because they don't know where to start. Like Scott mentioned that they've been working on technology since 1990s. It's a long time, so probably they have like a process and the strategy that they follow to bring a new technology to their company. And there are companies out there that, because most of them are small, they've never had that budget. They don't know how to start that journey themselves. So that's one of the biggest challenge that they have. And there are companies that they are investing in AI. They either try to find out what they need, identifying those pain points or opportunities that can augment the companies, and then they go and look for solutions that are out there. Again, there are over like 30,000 solutions out there, and if they just want to go and look for the coolest solution, it may not be the right fit. But if they know what they're looking for, that makes it easier to target those solutions and bring them to their companies. And that's not going to cost them like hugely. It's just like probably a subscription fee that they can pay. And there are some AI companies that they customize their AI solutions based on customers, users' needs that they have. But there are companies that they have the money, even though they're small or medium sized, but they just want to start something new. They want to add to their business models that they have, and they're investing on it. And most of these companies considering 2 to 3% of their revenue to start their journey. Is higher in other industry, but in our industry is lower than standard, which is fine. It's a good start. They can learn from it and like change and adopt their process itself. But yeah, they're across the whole spectrum, from like doing nothing to trying to figure out where to start their journey. And there are some of them that they have this strategy, looking for solutions out there or trying to build their own with a small money and just learning how it works.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you so much. Thanks for sharing. And so now my question for you is that why and how did you decide to develop all these great apps and technologies that you are developing? And why did you not use the ones off the shelf, the ones that are out there in the market? Was it like data privacy concern? What was the main reason?
So I think the first reason, the reason why we developed these concepts is it's kind of just a natural progression of how our lab operates, right? We build things, we design things in our lab, in the R&D lab, and that's kind of where the light bulb moments kind of happen, and we realize, hey, you know, is there a way to kind of solve this using a software solution, right? So then we start building the software solutions and transfer them to Giraffe. But prior to doing that, we started looking out there and to find out, are there software solutions that do these things? And we could not find any, right? That kind of do specifically what we've kind of are trying to do. So if there are out there, then maybe we missed something, but we don't believe there are ones specific to exactly what we're doing right now. Maybe, but how it all starts is really kind of when you start working on something. And what I always tell everybody is when we're inventing something in our lab, the first invention you're working on usually will lead to 2 or 3 other inventions as you start going along. And usually those 2 or 3 other inventions are needed to actually solve the initial invention or to make that initial invention even better. And so that modular idea about, hey, building a building with these Lego blocks, you know, is there a way to kind of, you know, provide accurate information? Can we turn it into a robotic solution? That led to Dot On, for example.
Amazing. Thank you so much. So we went about 9-10 minutes over time. Thanks for staying longer. It was wonderful to have you all. A special thanks to our audience for being with us. So hope you all have a wonderful day and see you at our next event.
Thanks.
Is there any final thought, any final comments you want to make?
Everybody have a good holiday.
Yes, that's a good comment.
Yeah.
Thanks, Nicknas. Thank you, and nice meeting Sam.
Thank you. Yeah, nice to meet you all, and take care.
Good to meet you guys.
Bye.
See you.
Wonderful. Bye-bye.